In the previous episode of the Zista Podcast, we understood more about telecom services firms. And in today's episode, we're going to be taking that conversation forward with Prateek Pashine. He's going to be covering with us what's it like to be a telecom business head. Welcome to the Zista Podcast, where we invite industry leaders and academicians to answer questions that students have within a specific subject area. Joining us today is Prateek Pashine. He's the head for the enterprise business at Jio, India's largest telecom firm, and he's going to be talking about a day in the life of a telecom business head. Thank you for joining us once again on the podcast, Prateek. We're delighted to have you back.
Thank you, Amit.
So in today's show, we want to kind of understand something in a little bit more detail, which is what does a telecom president do? What's a day in your life like? So before we get to that, I'd like to ask you a little bit about your journey, your personal journey. Could you walk us through, how your career progressed and, coming to the point that you are at right now?
Sure. So, engineering degree from REC Nagpur, it's called VNIT now.
Right.
Immediately joining IIM Bangalore, and from IIMB joining Tata Administrative Service. So that was 95, and then the TAs go through 1 year of induction, multiple companies. So did something in auto components, something is in telecom services, and something in computing with Tata Elxsi. So did multiple projects and then joined Tata Industries, which is one of the two holding companies of the group, which looks at new businesses. Looked at various projects, the then airport project, the then airline, the first GV of Tata Singapore, which didn't happen at that time, mid-90s.
Okay.
And also telecom equipment. Tata has had many telecom equipment business. It was the largest PBX company in the country, Tata Telecom. And they had joint venture with AT&T, multiple joint ventures. So it was decided to bring together all those companies under one fold. And AT&T's equipment business came to be called Lucent Technologies.
Right.
So I worked with them for about 3.5 years, Tata Lucent Technologies, and did all odd jobs, from getting foreign investment promotion board approval to do technology transfer of Lucent technology to India for a perpetual period, to doing supplier agreements, to doing project financing. So was associated in the MD's office, and anything that was out of ordinary and did not fall into any specific department was handled by me.
Okay.
From then on, I moved to the hotel industry and sold hotel rooms. Actually launched the country's first e-commerce enabled hotel website. Very
right.
So early 2000, you could actually book a Taj hotel room. So we were the first hotel room and the hotel in the country where you could online book a package or a room. So did various digital initiatives for the Taj. Also worked with a small startup in speech recognition technology.
Okay.
And then moved to the telecom services side of the business when Tata decided that they wanted to become a national player and not restrict themselves to Andhra Pradesh. That time I did procurement.
Okay.
So I had sold hotels, I had sold real estate before. I was doing some project financing and odd jobs in Lucent. Now here I started doing procurement of telecom infrastructure. I had barely done about 8-9 months in Tata Teleservices that Tata has acquired VSNL, Videsh Sanchar Nigam, a government monopoly which had just lost its monopoly. And I moved with one blind brief, and I will talk about it. I was told lots of fires to fight. Aaja fi dekhte hain. So that was my job description. And the reason I'm saying this is today I often interact with young kids or professionals who do not want to look at a job unless they've got a 2-page job description.
Right.
And that's why I'm making that point that Aja, lots of fires to fight. फिर देखते हैं. So that's how I moved from Tata Teleservices to ESNL. And again, did all the odd jobs, evaluating whether we should go to Kyrgyzstan for launching telecom services, to Bangladesh, to various Nepal, and then eventually did few things. Established BSNL's presence in US, in Sri Lanka, and then started handling one of the business units, the retail business unit. Then handled product marketing for that unit. And then on moved from retail side of the business, B2C side of the business, to B2 SMB side of the business. From then on, moved to Tata Teleservices and ended handling the entire enterprise business. And from then on, moved to Reliance Jio to handle, set up actually the enterprise business for Reliance Jio. So that's been the journey. Done various jobs, procurement, project financing, selling real estate, selling hotel rooms, selling technology, and then buying technology, and now selling services, and to both B2C and B2B customers.
So hearing you talk about this, it's really seems that you've been climbing a very steady ladder, and it's amazing to hear that. But what also comes to mind is that there were some lot of lateral shifts. So, where you were doing something which is totally different. Many times when I interact with young people who are joining our organization, or I've seen even in other organizations, they have a feeling that I was hired to do this. So why are you asking me to do X, Y, Z? It's not really part of my job description. And if I were to kind of look at what you've done, you've actually been totally open-minded to constantly try different things, to really learn different skill sets, and done it well. Because you've done it well, you've managed to move up, and today you are holding such a responsible post and managing such a large enterprise. So that's amazing to hear.
Oh, thanks, Amit. And that's something I often tell young colleagues. One day in 2004, 2003, my boss called up and said, listen, Mr. Tata has just met the Sri Lankan Prime Minister, and he has assured him that Tatas will look at doing telecom in Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka, yeah.
So go figure out. So that was the one-line brief. From then on, figuring out what licenses exist where Indian company can participate in, applying for the license, incorporating a company, shipping, importing equipment, setting up shop, getting all the licenses, running the operation, and actually making it profitable in the first year of operations. So what I'm saying is, I think because over time my bosses also became comfortable with the fact that isko kuch bhi de do, so he can do it. So I think then a mindset of saying, it may not be fully fleshed out brief, but
He'll figure it out.
He'll figure it out. And I think that's the charting the terrain of an unknown place. That's what actually is very exciting for me. Doing something completely ab initio new. Yes.
Dealing with uncertainty, managing uncertainty is such an important skill set. And very often when faced with uncertainty, a lot of people get feelings of anxiety and fear. But when I'm hearing you, talking about these experiences in your life, it's almost like you're saying, let's take fear and anxiety, throw it out of the window and jump straight right in, correct?
No, absolutely. And I think, yes, there is naturally all the questions that you have, right? What will happen if I don't do well? What will happen? I think much early in my career, I figured out that if I lose a job, I have enough capability to take care of me and my wife and my son. I'll figure something out. I may not have the lavish lifestyle that currently I have today or then I had, but I'll figure it out. I don't think that will be an issue. So doing something new, trying to get out of comfort zone and learn. So that's something that's always excited me.
Okay.
And as I said, one-line briefs, which are very vague or okay. I mean, they're not vague, but they're saying, okay, go figure out what we can do in Sri Lanka. I mean, it doesn't get more simple than this. So I think that it's an attitude that one cultivates.
Right.
And those opportunities also come to those who cultivate this and who demonstrate that.
Right.
You can be somebody, and I'm not taking away anything from those guys saying simple. You tell me I'm in marketing, I'm going to do marketing. They also grow over time. If they demonstrate that, boss, I want very crisp, clear, well-documented brief, then those opportunities will go in a particular way. But when somebody is seen saying that, oh, yeah, he's handled all odd jobs, you can give him a toss up odd job and he figure it out. Then some crazy opportunities also come on your way because there you can completely change the trajectory of your career, of your own learning, if you do well in one of those completely tangential projects that you get.
Yeah. Two things came to my mind. One is that, what you were really demonstrating is a risk-reward trade-off. So when you're working with something which is really ambiguous, it's high risk, but it could also be high reward. The second thing that came to my mind is that when you get that one-line brief, there may be a lot of uncertainty, but there's also with that a high level of flexibility. So while no one has told you what to do, no one has told you what not to do. So you have to figure out both sides of the coin, right? So that, yeah. I wanted to ask you about a typical day in your life. What do you work on? On a typical day, what are some of the things that you face? What do you do? We'd love to hear about that.
So there is no typical day for a business head. Every day is different because, and that is the great part of running a business, right? There is no Monday to Friday, same thing, or no 2 weeks are same. So forget about 2 days. So I think what all does it contain? It contains, unfortunately, customer escalation sometimes, which can boomerang into something huge, and not always, but every now and then you see a customer escalation. So that's somebody reached out to you. That means he or she is in real pain. So getting that sorted. To reviewing approaches, customer experience approach, sales approach, delivery, reviewing performance. See, one of the things that I often stress on, I actually, my calendar is color-coded.
Okay.
So my calendar has appointments which I have some 7-8 colors.
Okay.
And just looking at the calendar and the colors of the meetings tells me where am I focusing more on and less on.
Interesting.
So I have color coding for employee connect. So if there's a meeting is about employees and about employee related activities, color coded one way. If it is external customer meetings, it's color coded another. If it is ops, it is color coded third way. If it is leadership meetings with my bosses, it's color. So it also tells you. And why am I saying this? Because often I consider each one of us are doing two roles.
Okay.
Especially in the headquarters, you're doing an adder role and you're doing a multiplier role.
Okay.
Where one action of yours or one decision of yours or one policy of yours has a huge impact, and it changes the way customer experiences your service, to the way it simplifies life for the sales guys. That's what I called as doing multiplier jobs.
Perfect.
Adder jobs of this customer wants this particular clause in the contract. Are we okay with it? That's an adder job, because it's one transaction. It is solving that issue with only that one customer. Solving this issue with that one customer is not solving anything else. So I often reflect back and I keep telling people, are you doing an adder job or are you doing a multiplication job? Because in HQ, our job is to do multiplier, because your regional offices are looking for directions, processes, propositions, products that they can go and sell, that they can use. So that is something that I measure myself and keep encouraging the team to look at saying, so how much time did you spend this week on doing an adder job versus you doing a multiplier job? For example, if you simplify the process of customer onboarding, that's a multiplier job. Because
Absolutely.
so that's, I think, one thing that I'm very, very particular about. Every town hall that I do, I keep reiterating to my HQ resort team members about doing the multiplier job. So that's I think one key aspect of my day schedule or a week schedule.
Okay. I think I picked up some tips, and I'm going to go back and look at my schedule. Of course, I'm not running the scale of enterprise or that you are, with all humility, but I would definitely bring this mindset of, am I doing an adder job or am I doing a multiplier job? And I think it's a really good piece of advice that you've shared. I wanted to ask you, when you're running a large B2B enterprise, how do you manage or how do you balance the trade-offs and the risks that you may be facing,
So, see, risks are inherent to any business, right?
Right.
So, deposit money in the government bond, and that's a risk-free return. Anything that you don't do, there's obviously the risk is implicit. But I think we are in an enterprise because we are saying that we're taking a risk. Somebody takes market risk, somebody takes credit risk.
Mm-hmm.
Some businesses take, for example, if you are in a power generation business,
Right.
you typically take only credit risk, whether the electricity boards will pay after consuming electricity, but you don't take a market risk because power purchase agreements for 10 years and 15 years have already signed even before you put up.
Absolutely. Including the price,
Exactly.
which you're going to save the power. Yeah.
So market risk is not there, but credit risk is there.
Right.
In telecom business, you have market risk as well as credit risk. I put up a
Telecom tower.
but will customers will come, and after customers come, will they pay? And will they come in those many numbers, and will they consume as much as I've assumed they will consume? So risk is implicit in any business. But I'm talking of another risk here, and that risk pertains to processes.
Okay.
Very often, and we are all consumers of some service, right? We go through that process of somebody will say, oh, I have applied for this, but they're doing a verification check. Oh, you've not cleared the bill of last month, so I can't give you this service. All of these. So companies design process to minimize risk. And I think that's now often I've seen, what should I say, the two approaches and then two ends of the spectrum. One approach is everybody's out there to take advantage. So tighten the process. The checker, check the checker as well, because he may also make mistake. And you create a very solid process, but it becomes very clunky and not smooth because there are multiple checks, right? The other end of spectrum is everything's good, you don't have to check. So do a very light model. That makes the velocity faster, but exposes to risk. Now you have to look at saying, in that spectrum of absolutely no risk, but just suffocating the process or the velocity, versus where you want to so and that actually determines agility of the organization.
Correct.
So you want to save the two bad apples from entering. Do you suffocate the remaining 98, or you create a process by which you let 100 go, but have a way of post facto figuring out that this have happened, and then have low tolerance for such a thing? That actually determines what organization culture you're building and what organization culture the customers experience.
So interesting the way you articulated that. And I think, speed and agility is so important for businesses to thrive and really do well. And the way customers experience a product goes back a lot to the culture of the company, right? It's not just about the underlying product or service. It's also the culture of the organization. which brings me to my next question, which is, as an organization, you want to foster a culture of innovation, of growth, having a growth mindset. How do you do that, in your team and with even perhaps external vendors that you may be working with?
So I think mm, by very definition, innovation is idea. Innovation, when it meets commercial success, then that's a commercial innovation, right? So there will be a lot of innovations which may not succeed because of many reasons. They are before time. They don't have a ready appeal, or the customers are not ready. And a lot of times, the way that innovation is implemented. So, to foster innovation, I think in general, the rules I have deployed are try fast and fail fast.
Okay.
And have tolerance for failure.
Right.
So, do those experiments, try it out. Don't do. In telecom services, we're not creating a new model, right? Or a new semiconductor which is going to change the way the computing happens, right? We're creating processes, systems, and using technologies and wrapping it into a customer offering. So, what I would say is, if you can, create a culture of saying we will do something, we will continuously do new things. Just because it's not been done doesn't mean we will not try. But we fail fast. We'll implement fast, we'll fail fast. And it's okay. Few things won't work, but we would be richer by that experience. So it's allowing the system and the team to say it's okay to fail because we learned something. I think that's what becomes important. And you have to, just like innovation is like startups, right? 1 in 10 startups succeeds. But you don't know which one is going to succeed. So the P's and the VCs also, not all of the investments bear fruit. They also realize that maybe out of their 10 investments, they will have a huge windfall gain in one, which will kind of far compensate for the other 9. But it is important for you to invest in the other 9 as well. So that's what I would say for a company. It's like funding a startup. 10 startups, then 10 startup ideas. Some will reach commercial success. Some will make some impact, some may not. But I think, how do we do this? How do we not spend and the entire family jewel running after that innovation, not distract from the core business as well? I mean, you have to make the ship running while you experiment on the side, test it out, do a proof of concept. If it works, great, right? And sometimes proof of concept also may not work because the right inputs and the right environment was not created to do that. So it is often it's often important to understand, did it fail because the idea was bad or it was poorly executed? So making that distinction also is very important.
That is so insightful. It's not just about the idea, but also the execution of that idea. And, talking about innovation, I was reading a really interesting book, which actually said that if you look at the history of innovation in mankind, you can actually put them into 3 buckets. One is a product innovation, one is a process innovation, and the other being a strategy innovation. So you could, even innovate in your business strategy to actually have a breakthrough. And then there was another layer that this author was putting, saying incremental versus radical. So, it's self-explanatory, right? So for radical innovation, you require this prototyping, pilot testing, tolerance for failure kind of mindset, which are the same data points that you actually talked about.
Yeah, and see, I often then something that I've learned from our group chairman, Mr. Mani, and he constantly forces us to ask, I don't care where we are. I want to know what is the instant that is possible. Okay. What is the universe? Not where we are. And what could that be? And first principle thinking. So that, I think, is something which, and always work backward rather than move forward.
Okay.
So you first say that is the end goal that I want to achieve, and then walk backward to saying, I'm here now, how do I reach there? Rather than saying, okay, today I'm doing this, tomorrow I will do this, and then I'll figure out where I'm going. But figure out where you want to go first. Have a lofty aim.
A goal, you have lofty target.
Offer happen when you say some process takes, and I'm taking a process example, some process takes 7 days, and you say, no, we need to make it faster. And this has happened with me 10 years back, 12 years back. A team came back and saying, this particular activity will take 7 days. So I told them I want to get it done in 1 hour.
Design it afresh.
And I said, I think it can be done in, I think I said maybe 4 hours. I said, I want it done in 4 hours. It was a 7-day process. And people went to the room fuming, saying, obviously he doesn't understand a thing. All of that behind. They came back with the process 1 week later for with the 1 day process, 8-9 hours process.
Okay.
And I was very happy with it. The reason is, if you had said, can you make 7 to 6? They would have tried for 6. When I said I gave that ridiculous thing of saying I want it in 1 hour or whatever, 4 hours. They had to, it's like, and see, where does this thought emanate? Burj Khalifa or Burj Al Arab, they were constructing 1 floor every 3 days. Okay. That's how 20 floor building came up in some 500 days, right? So 1 floor on 3 days. In India, you take 1 month to create 1 floor. So I said one floor per 3 days possible, right? But how is that possible? If you start bringing brick there and then putting brick and putting cement and concrete in between the brick, it's not going to happen. You have to do prefab. You build the whole thing, just bring it here and assemble it. That's how you can do it floor in 3 days. So, I often believe that breakthrough innovation happens when you set yourself a crazy task. Like incremental targets give you incremental innovation gains. Free targets and impossible targets, never heard of targets, actually give you breakthrough. And you may not reach that impossible one, but you would have moved significantly into the next orbit.
That's so nice, and I think one key takeaway is that we should dare to dream big, really set a lofty target, and really think seriously as to how you're going to get there. So first define your end goal, and then break it down into smaller milestones, and then to reach those milestones, break down smaller objectives. So that systematic method, I think, will really help people to move the needle, move to another orbit in terms of their operations and their scale. So it's so nice to hear you say that. So thank you. This has been an amazing discussion. I think the more I talk with you, I realize that there's so much that you have experienced, and that's what allows you to share and very clearly outline how things should be done, what you should or should not do. So I really enjoyed this discussion.
No, thanks, Amit, but I don't mean it to be prescriptive. There are more than one ways of doing it. I'm only sharing few things that I've learned from the best in business, and I've seen them often succeed than fail. So, but I would dare not say that that's the only way to do it. These are some things that I've encountered, and these have helped me in my path.
Absolutely. So thank you. Really enjoyed this discussion. Thanks so much once again for coming on the show.
Thanks, and thanks for inviting me, and look forward to interacting with you and the young minds of today and tomorrow on a non-virtual platform as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Zista Podcast. It was loaded with practical insights. Keep getting content like this. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube. You can also catch the audio version of this podcast on Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. Our handle is the Zista Podcast. Till we meet again, we'd say, stay curious.